into like a Word file that you can actually edit. It's not great. It hasn't been great forever. But recent advances in machine learning allow us to take some of those old scanned images from the old documents, the microfiche, and pull out the blobs, figure out what words are missing, and give good output. So we're not spending the whole day reformatting a whole page of legal descriptions, and we're just able to pull it out from that document from 1807 or 1887 and have it nice and presentable. It's just making the process faster. So our title officer doesn't have to sit there and retype 2 pages of legal descriptions. That's an hour's worth of work. The other big thing, of course, is fraud detection. We have both internal sides and external sides for these. The internal side is that when criminals want to do scummy transactions, they're not following the law, they're going outside the law. But they always tend to go the same ways outside the law. So as we see these transactions happening, we have threat detection that is watching the escrows to say, hey, this is a little weird. This is the exact same dates, timestamps, whatever, of this other file that's happening at the very same time, or happened 2 years ago. And it'll give us a little bit of heads up, a little warning before something bad happens. On the front side of things, these are the products for you. We'll be able to provide better farms, specific. Deep learning goes into the property data going back further. So you can not just say, hey, this property is moving fast, this neighborhood moves fast. You can say, this street moves faster than the street next to it. Do we need to look at this neighborhood versus 1 block over? Property profiles are going to be the same, better learning on those, better data coming out of them. Faster open orders are the other side of the faster commitments. A lot of the open order process is getting automated. You get your documents back within an hour. You get the process started. You can provide that to your clients, start moving ahead faster. We still would like you to have a client when you open an order, but that is the market. Chat supports the other side. I know we love having our cell phones, and we love being able to have access to our escrow officers in the middle of the night. They may not enjoy it as much as you do, but we may have the option in the future for you to be able to log in at 2 a.m. and talk to a chatbot and say, hey, where's my file? What's the status? What's the closing date? Why is no one talking to me? Unrelated, but.
Other than it's 2 a.m.
Yes. Hey, someone in India really wants to talk to you at 2 a.m. The other side of it is the outside threat intelligence, the watching of emails. Now, we've all been doing wire fraud classes for a long time. Everybody in here has probably been to a wire fraud class or 2, maybe in the last week or so. But we can't just scan anymore for threats coming in. Obvious viruses, easy attacks. We're gearing up for tone attacks, which is where if I have an email conversation going back and forth with my realtor or escrow officer, and my email gets hacked and somebody's watching all those conversations, they can take those conversations, throw it into an AI and say, create an email message in the tone of Zach, saying that I want to change my wire instructions. It doesn't matter if someone's from China or India, they can make a very, very convincing email that came from me, sorry. And that is something that we're already dealing with. It's easy to manipulate these things. If you can copy in someone's signature and pretend to be an escrow officer, you can copy in their tone and become an escrow officer. And that comes to fraud. The easy targets are no longer out there. The scammers look like your friends. They sound like your friends. They're going to be indistinguishable on video sooner than later. Cybercrime, as we talked about in every fraud class, is huge. And in the last couple of years, it's gotten bigger. If cybercrime was its own little universe or nation, it would be the 3rd largest economy in the world. That encompasses not just threats and stolen things, but that is the litigation, recovery costs, loss of business during downtime, and paying ransoms. So it's not all $10 trillion sold or stole, but the cost of recouping the damage from those two. And that's only going to get worse as some of these things come to head. So we talk about the phishing emails all the time. You have your fake email addresses, scams going through just various attack vectors nowadays that we would never have seen before. Tone of email, voicemails. The voicemails are going to be the big one. Because nowadays, you can take a voice sample, upload it onto a website, and within a minute, you can create someone's voice cloned to say anything that you want them to say. And you know where you can get little samples of voice? Everybody's got their voicemail message set up. Probably a nice long one saying, hey, thanks for calling. Leave a message. That's enough. That is enough to make your voice. The problem with that is it's not just being able to replicate your voice and send another voicemail back to you. It's going to be real time sooner than later. We're not going to get into the password one too much, but there's been some research into using AI to crack passwords that has been successful, and it's much faster than traditional brute force methods. If you have a short password, anything under 12 characters, you're basically just dead in the water. You might as well just not have a password for some of these things. It sounds, yeah, a little bit scary, but the difference between cracking an 8-character password and a 16-character password is millions of years. 8-character password is hours to break. 16 characters, millions of years to break in our current technology. So better safe than sorry. Multi-factor attacks are also the next big thing. We all have multi-factor for everything. You should have it for your bank, if nothing else. Your credit cards in the bank, you have to have multi-factor. That's not an option. You're going to get hacked if you don't. The bad part is we can now spoof SIM cards fairly easily. With the eSIMs and applications, you can now put your phone on the network as someone else's phone. So not only can you take your phone, spoof the number, and call someone up and say, hey, this is Sylvia, send me some Apple gift cards. It's going to be from her number. If you call them back, it's going to go to that phone, not Sylvia's. Same with the text messages. You get your 2-factor authentication message, and it goes to someone else too. If they log in before you do, you're SOL. So multi-factor authentication is going to be one of the major threat forms that everybody in this room will have to worry about sooner or later. One of the workarounds for that we use is an authenticator app. There's authenticators by Apple, Microsoft, and Google. All fantastic products. Would recommend you guys use them. Instead of text messages, instead of voice calls, get onto the authenticators if you have an option. These are basically the same thing as those old RSA tokens that you may have used for banks, but on your phone. Those cannot be replicated. For authenticators, they're on the market. So in the Play Store or the Apple Store, just search for Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator. And whenever a website asks you to set up an authenticator, they give you a QR code or like a sentence, and you copy that into the authenticator, and it talks to the service and goes back and forth and sets it up.
So it's actually like,
No, it's just an app on your phone.
oh, it's just an app.
Yeah, no, nothing else to hold. The other side of things is AI learns. That's the whole point of using AI. It's going to learn what you're doing. And the threats coming up is adaptive malware. It will sit on your network, watch your communications, look for openings, report back if it can, and if not, go on the attack to make its own vulnerabilities to explode. This is obviously something that's been happening forever. It's just getting more intense with more options available out there. So, Patrick, want to go on? How easy is it to go from being a regular old scammer to using AI to do your scams? Patrick here took a little prompt, says, you're an escrow officer, write an email telling your clients that extra funds are owed to close their purchase on 123 Main Street. Explain that these funds can be paid directly to a different vendor, AI Inspections, by wiring money to their account. ChatGPT just pumps out the letter in a second. It looks and sounds great. How great?
Just so you know, it's for educational purposes only.
Do we not have audio?
Ooh, we don't have audio. Hold on, guys.
I think we know who that is.
Yes.
Famous lately.
Well, this is our video sample.
All right. So you copy the video, easy as that. You go into this link right here and you say download. There's a software online now, Play HT, where you go to the voice cloning and you take that video that you just downloaded. It's instant, 30 seconds. If you want it to be faster, if you want to do more than just one, all you gotta do is pay $10. So we named her T Swift, of course. She's a female. Drop the file and you click the acknowledgement. Now, obviously the acknowledgement, which is going to open here in a second, it's really tiny fine print. It says, do you have rights to this voice? Are you using this for anything illegal? If you're not, go ahead. It's as easy as that to say, okay, sure, I'm not doing anything illegal.
Criminal's very truthful.
Right. All right, you say you want to use it, you type in the prompt that you want, and you generate speech.
That's the text that we got from ChatGPT.
Now, this is sped up. This took about 1.5 minutes, but for the interest of everybody's time, we've sped it up a little bit. And now you should be able to hear Taylor Swift telling you what to do with your money.
So excited about your upcoming closing. I bet you're excited. Just a quick thing before you come in to sign. Our banking system recently suffered a cyber attack. So we've set up another banking account for security purposes. When you get the chance, please wire your closing costs to the insert super fake bank name here. 23. And the account number is 456. If you have any questions or concerns, please call me back at 555-555-5555. Thanks in advance, and I can't wait to see you at the signing. Congrats again. Love you.
So you can pay to do it instantaneously. You can have somebody on the phone and do this. There's also services out there that send messages directly to people's voicemail. So all you have to do is download this, send it directly to the buyer's voicemail, and boom, they don't know what's hit them. Now, obviously, we have all heard Taylor Swift sing, so we can all hear some imperfections in there, can't we? What if it was somebody that you haven't talked to consistently? Escrow, we really don't talk to your clients very much until the very end. So how easy would it to be to hear 555? And it sounds a little funny, but you don't know the person. You have no frame of reference to know if it's incorrect. Now, the next thing that we wanted to show you guys is some of the video transformation that is possible out there. Zach, did you have anything else you wanted to add to voice cloning before we go there?
No.
All right. You guys have all heard. Oh, sorry.
Can you tell the visitor you might see some imperfections? But if I turn to a stranger, now you can't see imperfections. You don't really know the person that well. One way you can find an imperfection with these videos is to ask the person on the video to move their head to the side. And you'll see an imperfection, a little glitch like this.
So Patrick's eyes are closed right there. The AI doesn't quite understand what to do, and it's filled in the eye to be open. And you see that a lot of times when heads shift because it's looking for two eyes, and as soon as they get out of frame, it starts to freak out.
And it was my one chance to be Harry Potter. So you guys remember the scams that have been happening starting beginning of last year with the vacant land. So somebody's pretending that they own some vacant land and they contact you guys. Now, normally you'd say, hey, can you do a FaceTime with me? And they say, no, my camera's broken. Nowadays, all you have to do is that. Now, as you could see, when I was trying to be Harry Potter, you could see there were some funny imperfections. But if it's a stranger that you've never met before, that you've never seen before, you're just not going to see those until you ask them to turn their head. And you can see right around the eyes and the bridge of the nose, there's something that always kind of glitches. But the scary part is give it probably another year, and I'd say that'll be gone.
There's a very good example recently of a low-level accounting employee who got a call from the CFO to do a big wire. Very common scam, very easy to suss out. You pick up the phone and you call the CFO. In this case, they did a Teams meeting with the CFO and the CEO and the head of their marketing department. We're all there in the same room. with their voices, with their likenesses. And within an hour, they convinced them. $25 million wired out of the company. You can guess who those people were. Not in America, not in that boardroom, not the CEO, CFO, marketing director. So this is already happening in real time. That's where the line gets scary. We did this video yesterday, about 15, 20 minutes total. And that's just us not being in the industry, not knowing what we're doing, getting it done. So if this is your job, it's going to get much easier, much faster. So we'll get away from the doom and gloom for a little bit and talk about what you guys are actually experiencing out there. Risk assessment and inspections have been using AI for a really long time. It may not seem like it, but the software out there is just doing your risk assessment for you. It's insurance. All of your insurance rates for the last 2 decades have been set by AI. You haven't had somebody like manually doing your calculations for your escrows. They're not manually doing your calculations for your insurance rates. Credit reporting, obviously, is the other big one. Credit system was set up in the early 80s, late 70s, and it was created to reduce bias inside of the lending industry. And it's been doing pretty great. Your opinions about credit scores, one way or another, but it's all automated. No one has to touch this. No one can tell you you're not getting a loan because of whatever rate. You just have your number. So marketing is going to be the big one for a lot of people in this room. We don't always write pleasant emails to our clients. Sometimes we get a little heated and maybe the clients are coming in hot, and you don't always have someone looking over your shoulder to tone down your voice a little bit. There's a feature in Outlook right now, in the newest versions of Outlook, where you can change the tone of your emails. Using a ChatGPT, it will take your message, reform it to be much more pleasant, much more straightforward, whatever you want to do. This is a power that you guys have right now to take care of. We talked about better market research. This is just going to get more and more in depth as more data comes online. And the big other one is language translation. We would all love to be multilingual, but we're Americans. So we don't learn that in school. And we have large amounts of text already made that we would love to get into new markets, but can't because we don't have those translators. We don't have those people on our staffs. We want to get those people on our staffs, but if you need to pump out an email to somebody today, large learning models are fantastic now for translations. Still a little wonky, but Google Translate alone is fantastic. Oh no. The robots are fighting back. All right. So we all see clickbait every single day, lots of clickbait, and it sounds like all of our jobs are disappearing. If you see this headline, you may think, am I going to retire tomorrow? That might be a good plan. But all these tools are just here to assist you. If you actually read the text up here, it's not that the whole transaction was done by AI. There were a lot of other people still involved in this. There's never not going to be a lot of people involved because we all have different roles to play in the transaction. AI is not going to inspect your property. But it's going to supplement all of our technologies. These may look familiar because they're just new things with AI slapped on the end. But what's an AI-driven listing technology that everyone subscribes to right now? The MLS. It is AI-driven at the end of the day. Providing more literacy for people is always going to be a good thing, but this is going to be tailored to people's individual financial situations. It's like getting a CPA to come into your phone and say, hey, you can't afford this property. The other big thing that's going to get money back into your pockets on your commission checks is reducing the money spent on services. Staging services, if you can take a picture of a home and have ChatGPT pump out a picture without the dog toys and make the bed, throw some paintings on the wall, excellent technology, and you don't have to pay for that staging service to come out and stage a house. And of course, our rankings. Everybody's got their star rating out there online, and there are tools out there to help respond to those also in a pleasant and appealing manner, not yelling at people online. So without current regulations, we're forced to have our own ethics. You know, in the Wild West, you stand by your own code of ethics. And for us, that's going to mean verifying all our generated output. If it's in the title commitment, you're going to know about it. A title officer is still going to review it. If it's in your closing packages, it's going to be your closing cost. You're going to see it in a little disclaimer somewhere at the bottom. One of the problems that we're going to be dealing with a lot is that we all upload documents to everything, everywhere, all at once. And if we start interacting with chatbots, the chatbots don't live on the same server that your website is. So DocuSign may own the website, but their chatbot may be owned by Microsoft. It's going to be up to us to make sure that that regulatory section is covered when you upload something, Social Security, whatever, into a chatbot. Because that's just another layer of who am I giving this data to? Who is responsible for this? Is it secure? Is it private? And as a public company, we're required to do that. So we've got the regulations already. As private individuals, you don't have that regulation that's forcing you to do this all the time. The thing about all these things is that it is expensive too. We're not replacing everybody all at once. Chatbots require electricity and a lot of processing power. And we are already saying that about 1% of the global energy output is being used for AI-specific tasks, which is huge. That has already taken over all the blockchain stuff. These are kind of weird statistics, but they say that generating a large picture through AI uses the same amount of energy that it costs to refill your phone, to power up your phone. What they don't say is that that cost is extremely low. It's cents to charge your phone. So while it is expensive, it's not as expensive as having live bodies necessarily. Now, when we talk about legal risks, there are the regulatory side of things, but there's also the actual issues of using the technology. Everybody hear about the lawyer last summer who got caught using ChatGPT in their case law? They asked the chat client to produce their closing statement or whatever it was, and it cited case law that didn't exist. It was making up what it thought the person wanted to see, which is what AI does. It generates what it thinks you want to see. He obviously got in a little bit of trouble for it. I don't know the outcome, but he was getting sanctioned at the minimum. So we can't use these products for legal reasons. Don't take this to court. Please don't take this to court. Because we don't know where all that data is also coming from. There are so many lawsuits lined up right now, just specific to the music and the pictures. All these things are trained on someone else's data. This isn't me taking my pictures, putting it into there and saying, hey, create more of these. It's going out and getting famous artists and recreating their things. And these artists think that they should have some form of payment for these types of things. Sure, that makes sense. You shouldn't be able to trade your product on my information. However, if you ever post anything to Facebook or any social media site, you don't own that anymore. Under the terms of services of all those products, they have a license to reuse anything that you post on social media. Your pictures, your text, your videos. And very recently, last couple of weeks, a few of the major sites said they're selling their things, your posts, to AI companies to train their products. You have no control of that. You have no monetary finance coming back from that. Anything that you posted online is now someone else's. And that's how it's going to be. The one side of regulation that is coming down the pipeline, same as blockchain, there's no federal guidance, but there is state guidance coming up very soon. States are determining if AI can be used to make major decisions for us. Should we be using AI to approve loans? Should we be using it to decide our public infrastructure projects? Why do we need AI to take those projects from us? Some of that is just the technology isn't there yet. Some of it's just we shouldn't be using it for decisions like this because it does contain some implicit bias by the creator of the product. If you train an AI on flawed data, you get flawed output. Garbage in, garbage out. Very traditional. It's been around forever. Now, when we say bad data, and the case law is a great example of this, we talk a little about hallucinations and AIs hallucinating. Sounds a little bit weird, but it's just a nice term for content that's generated that didn't necessarily meet your standards. You see some hands that have some extra fingers. That's the machine hallucinating what it thinks you think a hand looks like. It understands faces pretty well, hands not too great. The other side of that is that this data can self-replicate. Right now, we're training AIs using good data sets, using real world data, using our title plants or document images. But in the effort to make better and better AIs, some companies are taking AI output that may have those hallucinations in them and training new AIs with that data, creating the poison well. The new data is broken to begin with. That new AI is basically infected. We're nearing the end a little bit here, and while we did talk a lot about the products that we use to generate our business, these are some of the projects that we use to generate our marketing. We're not going to talk a little bit about this, but these are names that might be influential for a lot of people. The Bright Edge is obviously a big company out there right now doing all these products, but a lot of the stuff we're doing is just touch up for photos, using it for headshots, making graphics for the websites, property profiles, things like that. And language translation. So you're not getting replaced. You're not going to lose your job. At the end of the day, we are here as users of computers. 40 years ago, people resisted computers, resisted email, and it just made business faster. The amount of escrows that we were doing in 1990 is not much more than what we were doing in 2000. But going from that decade to that decade, we were able to do each escrow 10 times faster. If we can do that exponential jump with AI, we're all going to be doing more business for less time, less money, and less of our time focused outside of work. So with that, that's it. Thank you for coming out. And we are open for questions. Is there any questions about AI that we want to start up on? In the back.
So.
The sheets, yep.
All the stuff. So you noticed that about 5 years ago or so, everybody took them down. No longer, the majority of the companies started taking.
Plus the early jars.
So if now we have to order title fees with an escrow from an agent, it's basically information that's already on a sheet that we're gonna basically look up. This basically should be able to, whether we do it at 11 o'clock at night, in order to update, the loan goes up and it goes down, you know, whatever the thing is, instead of having to do an email, wait for somebody to be freed up to actually give us the number.
I would wager that's related to some regulations out of California. Technically, to quote fees, you have to be a registered title agent for the state of Nevada. So I can see how a state like California would pull back on some of that in the technology side. You can't have a net sheet doing that for you. We do still provide net sheets. You can get them anytime, either on your phone or on your computer. So we don't really do that here, but that was probably a regulation thing. So Other questions?